Well, it's time for us to hear from Fred, who he is at the Flower Pot Interchange. We want to find out this morning what it all looks like after the day after the commissioning. Fred, good morning.
Good morning, David.
Yes, and welcome to Breakfast Daily. What can you tell us about what's happening at the Flower Pot Interchange?
Well, a day after the commissioning, one would expect that vehicles will start using the flyover. And so this morning, or even last night, a number of vehicles used this particular stretch and the other one on the opposite side. And you can see that vehicles are moving on the overpass. So largely, after the president commissioned the place, I can say that vehicles that hitherto would have used the underpass and also, be part of that congestion that we've witnessed over the period. They are now doing the overpass. So the congestion under the overpass is basically reduced, despite the fact that the usual traffic is expected on the Sphinx stretch, but it is not as much as we used to see it. So on the Sphinx road currently, we see that the vehicles are moving in that linear manner, coming towards the Flower Pot runabout, and they are heading to their various destinations. Now, it's a political season, and it's expected that a number of political parties will take advantage to be at vantage points to basically register their presence in the minds of the voting public. So this morning, we see some people from the National Democratic Congress distributing paraphernalia in traffic, and they are contributing to the traffic congestion we see this morning because they attempt to give out their paraphernalia and flyers to passengers and drivers alike, and that leads to the slowdown in traffic under the overpass. So it is causing a bit of traffic congestion. If not for their presence, the traffic should be flowing much better than we see it now.
Yeah.
Kweku, one interesting thing to also note is that after the project is done, it is for us to now use it as motorists or the general public. And so we will be able to tell some of the difficulties with the project. From what I see, it is not fully completed. But if the contractors would take into account some of these things that we will be noticing as the media and again as road users, they will be able to incorporate this into their overall project to help the motoring public. One thing I noticed when I came here is that there are no pedestrian lanes for people who are walking past the project site or the overpass. And so that is quite difficult for people to move about. There is this narrow concrete slabs that have been used to cover the drain around the interchange. And that is what people are walking on. And it terminates at a point where you would have to even get down and walk on the road. And so if you are walking on the road and there is no lane created for you, and you do not take care to observe your surrounding immediately, a vehicle may easily, knock you down. And that is one thing I have noticed.
So, Fred,
there are no traffic lights here.
Yeah, so are you making, when you talk about the pedestrian walkways, are you making reference to the bottom of the interchange? On the ground?
Exactly the case, Kweku.
Okay.
The bottom of the interchange where one would expect that you will see pedestrian crossing.
Okay.
And then again, the pedestrian crossing is at certain points. But, we have two runabouts under this particular overpass.
Okay.
And so the very first one, which is so close to the Mahama runabout, that one has the pedestrian crossings. But when you go to the runabout, which is closer to the Bank of Ghana runabout, there are no pedestrian lanes there. So it's quite difficult for pedestrians to use this particular stretch. And so when you are crossing, vehicles are also not taking their time when they are approaching the runabout. And so you see that pedestrians would have to be very, very conscious when using this particular road that is under the overpass. Now, I want the camera to also point to where I am making reference to, that is not really a pedestrian walkway.
Okay.
Because it terminates at this particular point.
Okay.
I don't know if you see this.
Yes.
Though. You see the sign indicating the runabout over there, the yellow sign, the blue sign, over there. The pedestrian crossing ends there.
Yeah.
And so if you are walking, let's take a look at the gentleman who is now moving. You see, he gets to this place and you would have to now get down to walk on the road.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is quite one of the things that I have noticed that the contractors would have to work on. And there is no traffic light also here for people to easily move when the vehicle stops. So the vehicles are just moving about, thinking they have their right of way. So generally, that is one thing I have personally observed.
So it feels as though the interchange itself hasn't been entirely completed. And so there are there's other various furniture, road furniture and so on that they need to put in place, traffic lights and so on, the culverts and the gutters and so on that are being constructed. It appears that they are not completed. So, well, maybe we should just give them a few more days or a couple of weeks to see if they'll put this in. Are there street lights? Are there street lights, Fred?
There are no street lights. There are no street lights, Kweku. So when you come here, it is quite difficult for you to move about as a pedestrian trying to use the road.
So we see some...
Then again, there are no bicycle lanes.
There are no bicycle lanes as well, so that's also problematic.
There are no bicycle lanes.
Yeah.
That is also another issue we've observed.
Yeah.
And so this morning when I got here as early as 5:50 a.m., I realized that a number of people are trying to use the overpass, the flyover, to, as it were, they've considered it as a training ground now. So they are running, jogging, doing their morning exercise on the flyover.
Okay.
And so if pedestrian lanes are also not created on it, I mean, it is quite problematic for those who would consider this flyover as a place where they can do their early morning running. Now, we see that there are street lights that has been installed, and so the place will be lit at night.
Okay, okay. So we'll have to get there at night to see what it looks like at night as well later. All right, Fred, thank you very much for bringing us this update. We'll come back to you as and when necessary later on in the show. Thank you so much. All right, so.